I'm throwing my support behind Andrew Yang because Andrew Yang, I heard him, and he was talking about taxes. And he was talking about the, value-added tax or whatever it is, but he was basically just going, Amazon and Delta Airlines, they don't pay any taxes. And what we should do is just tack on, if you want Amazon to pay taxes, and Amazon's all offshore and everything, we'll just tack on whatever to the price of the toaster oven you buy on Amazon, and then we'll take that money. And then he said, and we won't give it to the government because the government's just going to waste it. We'll kick it back to the people.
That was kind of your idea.
And I like that thought. And I also, I guess so. And there was a certain point, he was on Tucker Carlson, he was giving an interview, and he said, which I liked, which he didn't say Amazon was evil. He said, Amazon's doing their job, which is not paying taxes. Well, now we need to do our job.
Well, back to what you were saying earlier, like everything I know about economics comes from the show Freakonomics, but the first lesson, the day one lesson is people respond to incentives. And Amazon's incentive is to cut their tax liability as much as possible. The dog's incentive is to not get kicked by Olga.
Right. And now, if you were listening to Kamala Harris, she would be yelling at Amazon, do the right thing. Amazon is not a person, so it can't do the right thing. It's this massive shareholders, and they want money. So they're never going to do your version of the right thing. As a matter of fact, when you tell Amazon or Delta Airlines or GE or whoever's not paying any taxes, do the right thing, the answer is, I am, bitch.
They did.
We're not paying taxes because that's what we...
Yeah. We're responsibility to our shareholders.
We don't do the right thing for America. We do the right thing for Amazon. You figure out the right thing with America. And if you would like us to not go offshore with all this and not pay taxes, then you need to work out a system that doesn't incentivize us to go off. We'll play. Do you have the clip? Max? It's like 3.5, 4 minutes long. But I like this Yang guy because everyone else is just up there, Cory Booker and everyone else, Elizabeth Warren, and they're just talking about racism. And that's fine. But I want to hear someone with an idea. That's my whole thing with Kamala Harris is like, I don't want to hear about brown people being oppressed. I want to hear some ideas. I want to know what the plan is. So I'll play this for you, sir.
So you make the case that these companies, take Amazon, but it could be Chevron, it could be GM, are profitable because of the investment the United States as taxpayers, in part, have given to them, and they're giving nothing in return. How do we fix this?
Yeah, and Amazon's the most egregious example, where they're now soaking up $20 billion in business and causing 30% of American malls and stores to close, and taxpayers are seeing zero in return. So if you look at what other advanced economies have done, they've figured this out. They've said, look, we need to have a mechanism in place so that Amazon's going to pay its fair share along with Netflix and Delta and these other companies that are paying zero in taxes. So what they've done is they've adopted a value-added tax, where then the American people would get a tiny slice of every Amazon sale, every Google search, and on and on. And it's very, very hard for companies like Amazon to game their way out of a value-added tax system.
So why don't we have that?
It's a great question. I mean, people have been advocating for it for quite some time, and my campaign is advocating and championing it right now because we need to wise up to the fact that companies like Amazon are very smart and moving their earnings through places like Ireland, where the American taxpayer will see none of it, whereas a value-added tax will make it impossible for them to sell to us without paying into our society their fair share.
You mentioned the other costs that are often not recorded that stem from Amazon's business model, the bankruptcy of countless American businesses, but there's also the fact that they basically subsidize their labor costs using our social services. What's the cost of that, do you think?
Oh, it's in the billions or tens of billions. And there was one instance where McDonald's actually was sending its people instructions as to how to file for various social services. So you're right that our social programs have been subsidizing the low-wage patterns of many of these employers.
So why are you the only candidate who's thinking through what to do about this? I think it's kind of weird.
I think it's weird. Again, all you have to do is look around the world and say other countries, other advanced economies have figured this out. We're the only advanced economy that does not have a value-added tax in place. And we need to make sure that the American people are actually seeing some of the gains from the incredible innovation and value that companies like Amazon and Salesforce and Netflix, all of whom paid zero in taxes last year, are getting away with, really. And they're doing their job, which is to pay as little in taxes as possible.
Right.
We have to do our job, which is to make it so the American people see our fair share.
So does that, I mean, just to argue the other side for a second, would that increase, and presumably would increase the cost to American consumers of goods, right?
Well, in some instances, in some cases, the companies will find cost efficiencies or eat part of it. And that's one reason why my campaign wants to take that money that we're getting from the value-added tax and return it to the American people in the form of a dividend, because that's the most direct way that we can actually have the American people benefit. The fear is that even if we do end up increasing the tax rate on some of these companies, that the American people won't benefit from that.
Because that money will be swallowed by our political machine somehow?
Yeah, it'll go into the giant pipes of D.C., never to be seen or heard from again. And so the goal is to make sure that doesn't happen by putting those economic resources directly into the hands of the American people.
But wouldn't that be bad for those of us who live in the District of Columbia and own property here? I mean, wouldn't it be better for us if we could hoard all the money?
I have a feeling you all would be fine. I mean, as you know, Tucker, Washington, D.C., I believe, has the highest per capita income in the country at this point. So, I have a feeling that the boutique restaurants will still have plenty of business.
Okay. It's because we're making innovative products the world wants to buy. No, sorry. It's because we're taking your money by force and hoarding it. Andrew Yang.
I love
certainly
that guy.
The most interesting person running for president. And sounds like
You got to listen to that last line again. He goes, because we're innovating and making things. Oh, no, we're taking your money and hoarding it in Washington. We're not making anything. Okay, good. Andrew Yang.
He seems to walk a perfect line between Republicans and Democrats. I mean, get the government out of the way and give the people their money back.
Yeah.
I want to hate him and love him.
Yeah.
He's Asian, but that ain't intersectional enough. Like, that's a below Jew in the intersectional world. Like, the key is here's the key.
That, Gina? Below Jew.
Below Jew. We say, minority. We really mean group that isn't doing well. Mm-hmm. So that's how it works. Right. And Asians are doing quite well, and Jews are doing quite well. They're doing better than white. So here's the intersectional world. If you're a white dude and you're below the Mason-Dixon line of white dudes, like your income is less, your education is less, then you get to be a minority. If you're above whitey, then you're not a minority, even if Jew and Asian is a smaller minority. Mm-hmm. Thus the definition, minority. You see how it works? It all makes sense. Yeah. You got so he's Asian, but he's not talking about being a voice for the Asian people. He's talking about taxes.
When you asked me to find out what kind of Asian he was, I Googled it. Everywhere it says he is American, and then you look at his parents, they're Taiwanese. But everywhere it says, he just says he's American. He never uses the Asian thing.
Okay, so...
Yeah, Yang.
Please, let's just talk a little policy.
What's his last name?
Let's talk a little policy, folks. Not get up there and just wax about racism all the time. All right.
So we like this guy.
I like this guy.
Like that plan, anyway.
Yeah.